Hello everyone, welcome to Maritime SoftwareHub, the People Podcast. Today is the season finale of our third season of the show, and it's just me. I'm going to give you a quick overview of who we've spoken to this season, and also give you a quick kind of insights into what's been happening within the sort of the recruitment and the hiring space in the maritime technology sector. So first of all, really delighted to have you guys listening, and thank you so much for your support. It's been fantastic kind of talking to people about the podcast and obviously having people on the show and learning more about their backgrounds, learning about their roles that they do in the different companies, and obviously also what each individual kind of business does themselves. So thank you to everyone also that has come on the show and told us a bit about their story and their solution. So this season we've had some awesome guests. We featured companies like the Napa Group, where we talked about the role of SaaS sales and product management and what the actual individual roles entailed. We went to Posidonia and I met with Merce Training, Christina, and we talked about digital and digitizing crew training. And then also met with Harbour Lab, and we looked at the role of a CTO in shipping, and in particular from a female's point of view, to hear more about their story and what it's been like as a lady in the maritime technology space. Then I spoke to Thea, and we had a chat about technology's impact on driving net zero maritime. We talked to Conscious and had a good chat about how transparency can be improved through technology within the crew planning space. Then a very popular episode, I'm not sure if there's any reason why it's more popular than others, but spoke to Voyager Portal about kind of demurrage, and we called it demurrage 2.0, and how technology is helping businesses reduce their expenses and costs associated with kind of time at port and things. So that was a really interesting discussion. I spoke to Tokwa, really cool business, and we talked about how AI can accelerate maritime decarbonization. Casimir is their founder. It was really good to hear about his sort of journey and the sort of projects he's been working on. So all in all, a really fascinating sort of string of discussions we've had. As I said, if for people that are perhaps tuning in for the first time, I really recommend having a look on either on our website at our podcast page, going on our YouTube channel, or listening and checking us out on places like Spotify, Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, those sort of places where we're featured. So now, in the middle of the summer here in the UK, a lot of businesses and companies are kind of having a bit of I wouldn't say a break, but certainly people are kind of away at the moment. So I thought we'd cut the season here, and we've got some interesting conversations lined up for early September. And they're also going to tie in with the SMM event in Hamburg, which I'll be attending. So really looking forward to hopefully bumping into a few familiar faces there and getting to sort of do some good networking and see what technology is kind of evolving out there. So I think in terms of kind of the overall market at the moment, this 2024 has been a really interesting year in terms of kind of the number of vacancies available and kind of like, I guess, publicized in the space. I've said before on these kind of updates that in general, the hiring activity is still quite considerably down when you compare it to 2021, 2022, and even 2020 in the maritime technology space. And when I say maritime technology, I'm mainly referring to, I guess, the kind of like the SaaS, the software platforms, the IoT technology division, really, as opposed to more of kind of like maritime hardware. And we tend to sort of split up the maritime software into a few different verticals, which I've mentioned before, but predominantly they're focused on, we call them technical maritime software solutions, and that kind of throws in everything more to do with the vessel themselves or itself. So that could be something along the lines of e-navigation solutions, decarbonization, emissions monitoring, voyage planning, anything to do with kind of crewing, maintenance, that type of thing, that will involve a software platform. We tend to call that the technical maritime software space. And then more on the commercial maritime, we kind of like categorize as the kind of pre and kind of post fixture, or even pre and now at fixture platforms, where we're seeing more and more technology companies coming along that want to try and I guess increase that deal transaction, or whether it's fixing a cargo or even perhaps moving towards selling a vessel, trying to help with those online platforms to facilitate that type of trade and transaction. And then the pre-fixture tech platforms are a lot more to do with kind of commodity movement insights, vessel tracking, like charter rates sort of analysis, email platforms that help kind of filter and parse information into really sophisticated, easy to read dashboards, essentially. So much exciting stuff going on in the space, and we're really thrilled to be at the heart of it, in terms of we're speaking to people every day, either on the candidate side that are working in those businesses, or on the other side of companies that are looking to perhaps hire and expand their teams. So 2024, I think it's starting to pick up the hiring activity. We're seeing a lot more kind of positivity across the market, certainly in the more kind of startup to kind of sort of scaling company. You're looking at sort of 10 headcount to kind of 100 or so. It seems like they're still kind of growing and looking to hire. And the companies that we typically work with and I guess kind of target are normally growing at the sort of 10 to 20% or so per year kind of headcount. And that's really where we spend a lot of our time, working with those startups and scale-ups. Of course, we do also speak to the large kind of publicly traded businesses and the SME couple of organizations. But it's in those companies where I think we've seen the biggest slowdown in hiring from my perspective. There has been a few kind of restructures and a few businesses letting people go in the businesses that are kind of like 1,000 plus headcount with big expenses and things. And I don't know if that ties back to just a general sentiment in the economy to do with interest rates and access to funding. Maybe some commercial projects have been pushed down the line and stuff, and that suddenly impacts their new team they're hired and things. So yeah, we've seen quite a bit of activity, certainly kind of Q1 and Q2, with those bigger companies letting a few people go, or just maybe not hiring as kind of aggressively as they were in the past. So even still remains very positive, and we try and stay positive always, especially in recruitment. You have to be. So yeah, it's all been a really interesting year. And going forward, I think now as we look at kind of where are we, kind of Q3 going towards kind of Q4, I do see lots of interest, in particular from the kind of the incubators and the venture capital funds. There's lots of really interesting ones kind of popping up and have been very much present in the last 4 or 5 years, like the sort of flagship founders, InnoPort, AI Doc, Signal Ventures. I mean, there's a whole list of them, and their portfolios are all really, really interesting and exciting to kind of watch. And we're working with a number of them to try and help them grow and scale, or just give some kind of insights into perhaps where is a good place to maybe base your team, and where can they then maybe attract talent 6 months or a year down the line. Or even if they're not even from maritime, it's often like, cause where do you think, where is the customer base? Like, whether it's a ship owner or a ship management type of solution, where's the best place perhaps to try and kind of strategically position themselves? And often it can be places like London, it could be Greece, Norway, Copenhagen, Oslo, or Copenhagen in Denmark, the US more and more so recently. So lots of those things we're seeing happening. And yeah, it's just been a very exciting time. So just a short, quick recap from me today. And we will be doing our launching season 4 in about 2 or 3 weeks. As I mentioned, we've got the trip to Hamburg coming up shortly. So we've already got 3 or 4 episodes lined up straight after that. So hopefully you won't have to wait too long till we start airing our next episode. And also by then we should have hopefully some news about more on the personal side about what's happening on business-wise and family and stuff. So we've got a few things going on, and I think I mentioned to a few people that we've recently just launched Cordell Beaumont LLC, and essentially started trading officially now in the US. So really excited to see how that grows. We've already been working with a number of US based clients for the last 5 or 6 years or so anyway, but now we want to really build a presence out there, so we can serve our customers better and just be closer to the market where you're not so far away in terms of time zones, and we can get out there and speak to them more closely. And to be honest, we just want to try and help drive the growth of the maritime technology space in North America. When we're trying to search for candidates, it's very kind of, I find it's quite sporadic. Like there's key hubs. You have obviously New York, you have Houston, Austin to an extent, certainly more so on the tech side. But if we're looking specifically at maritime technology, definitely you've still got New York, Boston, some really interesting companies, down in Florida as well. There's a few. But still, Houston, although maybe a number of people might be moving a little bit away from Houston to places like Austin or other states, it still remains the kind of the chartering tech hub, I would say. If I had a chartering platform, I would want to have at least a team or some people in Houston, and that's where we're helping people hire, because there's still a real kind of big clique there. So that's really what we're looking at the moment. And of course, Cordell Beaumont Limited, our main business, will be very much kind of thriving from Europe, from our UK base, and we're serving kind of obviously European and Middle Eastern and some Far Eastern clients as well. So lots happening, and again, just want to take a little breath over the next couple of weeks, kind of look at the podcast, review the kind of the discussions we've had, see what we can kind of learn from it, make any changes. But for now, really loving doing the show, and we're going to continue to do so. So if you are interested in obviously coming on an episode and featuring your business, just feel free to reach out to me anytime on LinkedIn, or send me an email. It's callum@cordellbeaumont.com. Or if you're obviously working in the market and you're looking for a new role or thinking about making a change, then I would reach out to me as well. No problem at all. And the last thing I want to give a few little tips on before I kind of end this up is about what I would probably be doing if I was looking for a new role or considering a new role at this time. So I'm jumping around a little bit here, but I did a little bit of analysis just today on kind of the amount of vacancies that there are actually live, visible, like for the public to apply for. And if we look at the maritime software space as a whole, and we include those technical maritime software companies I mentioned, the commercial maritime software, and we also include things like the classification societies that have technology, like the LRs, the DMV, that have data platforms and kind of SaaS solution. At the moment, all around the world, there's only 67 sales vacancies listed, and that is on LinkedIn. That scrapes company websites, other job boards where certain companies have mentioned their brand name and things. So 67 seems like quite a low amount, I think. If we compare that to what we class as the supply chain or the digital logistics sector, which is another sector which we work closely in. And when I say that, I'm talking about, yes, the supply chain technology platforms that help companies, mainly like enterprise companies or retailers or commodity traders and energy traders, physically move their goods around the world. So you have kind of like end-to-end spectrum, you have last mile delivery, analytics about physically booking the cargoes, digital freight forwarding platforms, that type of thing. So there's currently 215 sales vacancies online anywhere in the world right now, in that space. So quite a bit more if you compare that to the 67 in the maritime software. So it's a much bigger market, but I would say that those companies are generally quite a lot larger. You've got like the Flexports, the E2 Open, Blue Yonder. All those companies are typically kind of 1,000 or 2,000 headcount or more. So if I was looking at for a vacancy, and if I was a sales, like a senior head of sales or a business development manager, and I wasn't seeing anything perhaps in the maritime software space, then there's associated markets you can obviously look at, like I mentioned, the digital logistics space, or even obviously more and more so now the decarbonization space. Really interesting companies popping up that are focused on emissions monitoring, and maybe they're not selling a software platform, but certainly data analytics and reporting and insights around emissions. And if you've got a maritime focused background, or especially if you've got anything to do with bunkers or emissions monitoring, that type of thing, then I think you could really make a big impact in those sort of companies. If we look at product management roles, I mean, there's definitely a lot less product manager roles out there. When I speak to candidates, they're saying that there's very, very few that they're applying for or interviewing for within the maritime software space. So we can see there's 21 live product manager vacancies currently anywhere in the world within a maritime software focused company. And if we look at digital logistics, just to compare these as well, there's only 31 actually listed in the digital logistics space. So I don't know why there seems to be a shortage of product manager vacancies. I'm not sure what the reasoning for that is. But again, if I was a product manager, I don't think there's too many options right now. I mean, being brutally honest with you, we only have a couple of product manager vacancies live at the moment. And generally we have quite a selection of candidates, to be honest with you, because there just aren't that many vacancies out there. So I think they'll hopefully turn around, and certainly with the more startups that we're working with, hopefully they either go to kind of hire their sales and commercial team first, and then they start to build out a product team, or they do the reversal and do the product team first. So either way, there should definitely be some product roles coming soon. So my advice really is, don't rely on whatever is out there on the internet in terms of applying to jobs. I think so much happens behind the scenes, and it's certainly in recruitment in our world. I've said before that about 60% of the roles that we work in are not anywhere online. They're not on our website. They're not on LinkedIn. So it's always worth just dropping me a message, or my team, or a call, or whatever, just to see what we're working on right now, or maybe what we might be working on in a couple of months, because things do come up quite regularly, and we typically have quite a quick turnaround. So we like to, if we have a new role in, we like to get CVs out within at least 1 to 3 days or less. And that's because we kind of spend every day talking to our network and talking to our industry, and just really focus on quick turnaround, because we've already tapped into them, and that's why we charge our sort of recruiting fees, and that's why people tend to come and work with us, because we're kind of quite tapped into the market. So as I said before, if we can help with anything, or you've got any queries about the market, just please do reach out. I'll stop rambling now, but for now, thank you so much for listening to us over the last sort of couple of seasons. It's been a couple of years now, I think, since we launched the show, and I would really appreciate your support if you could follow us on our different channels, and please do follow our recruitment business as well. So for now, thank you very much. Enjoy any summer holidays, and we'll catch up very soon.